Everyone keeps talking about how mean Belly is in this last episode, and really this whole season. And you know what? She is. Specifically to Conrad. That scene in the pool really pissed me off. And people are like, oh, well, Jeremiah brings out the worst in her. Maybe. But really, she feels the need to tear Conrad down in order to lift Jeremiah up and to reassure Jeremiah and herself that she made the right decision and that she truly loves Jeremiah. This is just her projecting. I just feel awful that Conrad is suffering the consequences of her stupidity. You know, Belly can't stop thinking about Conrad. She's never been able to. So if she can't stop thinking about him, she wants to talk to him and she wants to fixate on him. Right now it's just easier for her to hate on him and make fun of him. But he doesn't deserve this. But don't worry, you're going to get your girl, I promise.
Bless Jenny Han for casting Chris Barney as Conrad Fisher. Honestly, I can't imagine anyone ever doing it better. And beyond Chris just really playing Conrad really well, especially in season 3, he's the best written character. I mean, we've gone through a 4-year time jump and I have not seen any growth visually or emotionally in any of these characters besides Conrad. I think that's in the writing, but also in how Chris plays him and how he carries himself. I think in the first 2 seasons he did such a good job of playing closed off, complicated, grieving, angry sometimes Conrad, and I think he's doing such a good job at playing adult, healed, and most importantly, yearning Conrad in season 3. Like, we really needed him to land the yearning this season, and God, he's doing so well. The last 10 minutes of episode 4 are like the best 10 minutes of the entire season so far. It is the first time that like I got the buzz. And the way he looks at her, the way he holds himself around her, it's so good. And then the writing is so well done in the ways that it shows us, it doesn't tell us how much he loves her. And of course in episode 5 it's going to tell us, because we're going to get Conrad's point of view in his narration, thank goodness. But when writing a successful story, you always want to show people things, you don't always want to tell them, right? Conrad shows us in every decision he makes and everything he does how much he loves Belly. From seeing her crying and knowing to leave her alone, because in the books, if you read the books, you know that she prefers to be left alone when she's upset, to quietly making her the muffins that she loves and just leaving them on the table without expecting any sort of thank you or recognition for it. Canceling his flight back to California and staying in Cousins just so he can be a part of this wedding that he obviously doesn't agree with, because, you know, he's in love with the bride, just to make her happy and be there for her because nobody else is right now, no matter how much it's killing him. It's just written into everything he does and every move he makes and every look he gives, and it's just so good. And I love how we don't see him for like the first 30 minutes of the episode, and then the last 20 minutes we see more and more and more of him. We get more scenes from his point of view, more and more and more, from the pool and him in the room, etc., him running, and then we end with the hug, which was so beautifully executed, and the swap to his point of view, which could not have been done in a cleaner, smoother way. I just really need his POV episode to be like an hour and a half long, because we have 2 seasons of not knowing what Conrad was thinking during a lot of these pivotal scenes. I mean, maybe having an idea but not really knowing. I want to go through the present and what he's feeling now, of course, but I want to go back through 2 seasons and go back to these flashbacks and hear what he was thinking in these pivotal moments. So here's hoping for that. I have so many thoughts on this episode, but that's the most important. Props to Chris Barney and props to Jenny, because Conrad this season, so good.
So I actually loved the pool scene between Belly and Jeremiah in the last episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty, and before you come for me, just hear me out. This scene did so much for the narrative in so many different ways. First and foremost, because I know it's the Bonrad and Conrad defenders that really hated this scene the most. I'm one of you, I get it. I think it's really important to point out that Jeremiah tells Belly what Conrad said that afternoon, and then hours later she brings it up again out of nowhere. Conrad has finally commented on their relationship in a negative way, and that is stuck in her brain for hours on end. Yes, she makes light of it, but it still is nagging at her. She clearly cares what he thinks still, and that is worth noting, especially when we're losing so much narration from this season. And I know it really sucked to see Conrad overhearing them and getting bummed, but again, hear me out. I don't really think his feelings were hurt over what they were saying, because first of all, he makes a joke about it too at the end of the episode. And two, their family. I'm sure he's poked fun at them plenty of freaking times in their lives, okay? They've known each other forever. I think his emotions in that moment are way more of hearing Belly and Jeremiah be happy and silly and romantic and in love, like first person witness it after so many years of staying away, and that really hitting him like a load of bricks. It is so important this season that we see Conrad yearn after what's happened the past 2 seasons, and I think that was such an interesting addition to give him another opportunity to do that. And yeah, again, it's a bummer, but it's also setting us up to be in his shoes for his POV narrative, which is the next episode. We are empathizing with Conrad at an all-time high now, and that is really, really important when we are now going to be along for the ride with him for the first time ever in 3 seasons. And then lastly, and some people are not going to want to hear this, if you're trying to write a good show with believable characters, Belly and Jeremiah have been in a relationship for 4 years. They have been best friends for their entire life, whether you want them to be or not. Because we skipped 4 years and essentially their entire romance, and the past 3 episodes of season 3 have been all drama and about bad things and stressful things, we have not seen anything that feels real or natural about them together as a couple that isn't about all those heavy topics, right? This was the most real, natural moment between them. Like, it's just 2 besties talking shit together like you would your best friend or someone that you've been with for years, having fun, letting off steam. And if we have to believe that there's a reason they're in this relationship, and we do have to, if you're writing a story, I think that those little moments are really important, and I'm glad that we finally got one, even if we don't necessarily want them to stay together forever. But on that same point, let's bring it back around. I think it's also important to remember that Belly, I hesitate to say that Belly has been mothering Jeremiah like some people do. I think that's a little extreme, but I do think that she carries this guilt about not being there for Jeremiah right when Susanna died. And so the 2 of them mutually kind of use each other as like a substitute Susanna to kind of like keep them from dealing with her own grief. But with Belly, it comes out that she really takes care of Jeremiah. She puts his feelings above her own always. I mean, let's not even get started on the whole Paris of it all. And this is just another example. She knows that he's bothered by his brother saying everything is ridiculous with the wedding, so she makes sure to make light of it to make him feel better. It's just another example of her taking care of him and how so much of their relationship is actually based on that rather than genuinely being in love with each other. Not that they don't love each other. There are reasons that they've remained in this relationship that are not necessarily just because they have this passionate romantic love for one another. And it comes out in so many of their moments, and this is one of them. That's why that scene is actually fantastically done. And I hope that you see it a different way after maybe hearing this video.
I'd like to remind you that all of these characters have flaws, and every single one of them holds a responsibility for the current story that is happening. Conrad's largest flaw is that he has selflessness for his feelings for Belly that have infused into an inferiority complex. Jeremiah's biggest flaw is that he has selfishness in regards to his feelings for Belly that has infused itself into an inferiority complex. I have some thoughts about Belly and why people seem to be really upset with her, but I do implore you to look and shift your perspective as to what Belly has dealt with as she has grown and aged in this family dynamic. Belly's primary maternal figure growing up was Laurel, who is not a mother that gives a lot of maternal comfort. The maternal figure that she leaned on for comfort was Susanna. Laurel's unfortunate way of parenting is to tell her daughter, you should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, and she doesn't realize that Belly really needs to become her own person. In season 1, we saw a lot of Belly yearning for Conrad, but Conrad was not in a place to be able to accept that. He pushed her away. We finally saw a combination of the 2 of them coming together, but there was never truly a point where Conrad communicated his feelings to Belly. Truly, I think the only time that we heard Conrad communicate his feelings to Belly was when he said, I thought you knew, and when they were in this like half relationship thing. But never truly really were they ever communicating clearly. Belly has always carried the belief that she cares more for Conrad than he cares for her, and that's made clear in her point of view in the books. Conrad's largest flaw is that he has selflessness for his feelings for Belly that have infused into an inferiority complex. Jeremiah's biggest flaw is that he has selfishness in regards to his feelings for Belly that has infused itself into an inferiority complex. So Conrad believes that if he takes himself out of the picture, Belly will be happier. Unfortunately, that's not how relationships work, and if you are going to be in a relationship with someone or carry feelings with someone, it is the responsibility of both parties to communicate their feelings and decide together how they want to move forward when different instances of conflict arise in a relationship. Conrad just would remove himself from the picture, whereas Jeremiah would lean on Belly and push himself further into the relationship. when the conflict arises, which is why Jeremiah leans on Belly for maternal comfort after the death of his mother. She is the last connection that he has to his mother, which is why deep down we all know Jeremiah and Belly do not have a romantic love relationship. They have been best friends and they carry love for each other, but deep down they are not romantically meant to be together. Conrad has done a ton of work on himself, and obviously we see him going to therapy and we've seen a lot of maturity from him this season, but I think the biggest and most important part that we need to see from Conrad is communication of his feelings. That is still something he is currently lacking, and I'm hoping that we're getting to see in episode 5 when we get his point of view chapter. Now, a reminder that we are an audience watching the show that they are giving us, and this show is done more than just Belly's point of view. That's why we're able to see Steven at work with Denise. That's why we're able to see Conrad when he's in California with Agnes or Angie or whatever her name is. We do not see just Belly's point of view as we do in the book. Now, we do know that we get Jeremiah and we get Conrad point of view, but up until this point, we've seen everything. So it's a whole perspective of the story that's shifted than just Belly's thought process. So as the audience, we can perceive and realize that Conrad has feelings for her. We can, oh girl, you're being so stupid. Her reality is different than our reality. She truly believes that Conrad has no feelings for her. He has given her that push and pull for too long. And the last thing that they had communicated at the hotel room at the end of season 2 was, I think you'll be really happy with Jeremiah. You should go be in a relationship with him. Like, you deserve to be happy with him. And he pushed her away again. So in Belly's mind, she has love for Jeremiah. She promised Susanna that she would take care of the brother / Jeremiah. And she is in a relationship with him because she believes she loves him. She's connected to this family. She's missing a maternal comfort that she needs, as we've seen Laurel continue to not be a mother to her. And I'd like to remind you too that Belly literally just turned 21. She is barely 21. So we are seeing her mature and growth just like Conrad got the chance to do. So we do need to give Belly a chance and some timeline to elapse where we can see her maturity and growth, and then hopefully we'll have some time pass. She will realize her relationship with Jeremiah is no longer valid, is not meant to be what it's supposed to be and what she thought it would be, and then she will step away from that, have some maturity and growth, hopefully go to Paris, and then come back, have some time, some growth, and they will be able to come together at the end. And during this, at some point or another, the audience will realize that Conrad and Belly had a play in why they were separated from each other so long. But in the line of their story, it probably was necessary for them to be and to learn and grow from these experiences and conflicts to be able to come together and have a better, happier relationship, understanding each other. We're finally starting to see a shift in perspective of Conrad in episode 4, and we're going to go into Conrad's point of view in episode 5. I have a lot of thoughts on episode 4, and I will be posting them soon. So I think that it makes a lot of sense actually that Jeremiah has little bits of red seen around him, not only because he is in love with Belly, he is not deeply and intensely and all-consumingly in love with Belly. It's like Belly is honestly not for him either. You are going to see little bits of red around him because he does hold some love for Belly, but there is really only one person that gets Belly's all-consuming love. Need I remind you that Belly also believes that Conrad is not interested in her anymore? Belly believes that Conrad has moved on. When Belly visits Susanna in the finale of season 2, she says, he needs you, Susanna does. And she doesn't think he does. So I do believe that Belly has created a reality within herself that she thinks Conrad broke it off with her. She thinks Conrad didn't want her anymore and moved on, which she didn't realize that Conrad was sitting in his own grief and he just couldn't be there for her when he needed to, and the timing just was not right for them. But Belly has fully convinced herself that her and Conrad are not meant to be based on Conrad's feelings. Like, she assumes he is not interested. But we all know that this is how Conrad sees Belly. Jenny Han is a Swiftie, and she has used the color imagery, especially considering that we have associated Conrad with red, as we know from the song Red, Burning Red, and we have seen it used really heavily throughout the last 3 seasons. This is one of my personal favorites. I really do not think that we're changing the official ending with who Belly ends up with, but instead changing how they end up together. We do know that the letters did happen still because we saw the mix-up after Laurel walks into the room and starts to grab the letters and they get mixed up and they start putting them in envelopes. So we know officially that this will happen, and if you haven't read the books, you won't know what I'm talking about, but just know that this ends up leading us to what we want, which is Conrad and Belly. It will happen. Trust. A picture is worth 1,000 words in my opinion, and I think Conrad standing and Jeremiah sitting, Jeremiah does not have a tie on and Conrad does, says everything to me. I have tons of thoughts of why I think they're not going through with their wedding, and that the video of her walking down the aisle is actually her rehearsal, and that their planned wedding will end up turning into potentially her parents' wedding, but we can make that for another video.